Without any further ado, so David Konigsberg is the CEO of OptimalTargeting and the founder of Brand Hero. He is a Google AdWords qualified professional, takes a holistic view on marketing with a focus on analytics. As CEO, PPC, link building, social, let's see what it says, social and any infographics, and always learning. Without any further ado, David, I hope I did justice to the great work you do, but here you go. David, it's all yours.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Okay, so at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to put it into the chat. You don't necessarily have to wait to the end. This way, I'll make sure that I don't speed through something that's important, and I can give it the time to address it. So if you have any questions about what I'm saying, feel free to, in the chat, type your questions. So again, welcome everybody. My name is David Konigsberg. I'm the CEO of OptimalTargeting. I'm also a founder of Brand Hero, a branding agency. So what people sometimes make the mistake in starting out with Instagram is they don't realize that Instagram has settings that are just catered to businesses. And there are things that you could do as a business versus as a personal account that are very important to keep in mind. So I'm assuming that all of you guys know how to set up an account and set up a Instagram account, and you've done that for your own personal life, and you know the basics of the posting. I'm not going to go into that. If you have any questions about how to post or what to post, a simple Google search about how to post on Instagram will show you there's the button to post. Very simple. I'm going to go into a little bit more of the strategies and what you need to do to make sure that you're successful in that. The first thing I would want to just show you is that if you have a regular account, you could switch your account to a business account, which gives you more tools to operate as a business. And this is a very important part of running a company profile on Instagram. So if you go into your settings, you scroll down, you'll see that there is this little button there that says switch to business account. If you click on it, you could do that. You could verify your account. You could make sure that it's set up for your business. It's very important that you want to make sure you fill out your profile, make sure there's a link in the profile. Some people want to be a little bit more advanced, and they put a tracking link in there. A tracking link is they'll go to websites like Bitly, and they'll create a link shortening, which basically what it does is allows a person to see how many people click on it. Another thing that sometimes people do is they put a tracking one using Google Analytics, where they see from Google Analytics if they came from the profile. It's a little bit of the advanced stuff, but in the end of the day, it's going to be rewarding for you to try to figure that stuff out. If you're into seeing where the traffic from your profile is going in your analytics and if you're getting sales from it. So I would recommend trying to take the time to set up some sort of tracking from your profile, either a Bitly link or a Google Analytic. It's called a UTM builder. And if you just go to Google and you type in Google Analytics UTM builder, there's a generator there where you can put your information in there. You'll put the link to your website, you'll put the source, and you can write in their Instagram, and then you hit generate, and then you take that link and you use that. In general, anytime you do any traffic on the web and you want to track where it comes from, if you do that, UTM builder, you'll be able to know in your Google Analytics, in the report, it'll be broken down by the sources it came in from. For all of you who are curious to know, there will be a recording of this after. We'll provide a link and a recording for you guys to be able to watch this slower and review it. If I went too fast and you missed something, make sure that you go back and you look at it. As well as if there's anything that I'm saying that you have a question on, feel free to wave your hand or type in the comments so I could address it. The next thing that I think is important to know is that, especially with businesses, people make the mistake and they don't set up the right procedures and processes in place to be able to be successful. And because of that, they end up doing triple the amount of work that they need to do. There is a tool in Instagram for businesses called canned replies. You could go ahead and you could create a quick reply. And what that does is that once you set up a quick reply in your account, you know that most people who are going to come in and ask you, when you're running a contest, they want to know how to enter, how to do this, how to do that. You create one time a reply using the DM quick reply feature. And then when a person direct messages you, you can see on the screen there's a little arrow that's being pointing to that box. When you click on that, you could choose from which reply you want to give them and then just give them that reply. That saves you a lot of time that you don't have to rewrite the same message or copy and paste the same message. It's all there. You can just click on it and allow the system to send the message. So that's something that's a little trick that you could do for business that definitely helps out. Those of you who run Instagram accounts know how important it is to make sure that you reply to all the messages that people message you through DMs. People want to feel they're talking to somebody. They want to feel it's a person on the other end. And I always recommend using a name. It doesn't have to be your real name. It could be a name of, somebody you make up, and everybody in your company calls themselves Sarah, but a name, so it makes it feel like there's more of a personal connection, that people feel like they're talking to somebody and they're addressing their problems, and that people shouldn't ask questions and get no replies. That's going to discourage people from using your platform in the future to be able to reach out to you and ask you about pricing and the like. Okay, so Instagram has changed a lot over the years. Today, Instagram and social media in general has become a little bit more of a branding channel for most businesses, especially for the businesses that don't have very visual products, or the type of product that changes very often, that people are going to want to know information about how much that costs or what that is or how do I order it. It's become a channel where people are really using it to do branding. Now, before I discuss how that works exactly, I'm going to go take one step back, because I know that based on our poll, there's a lot of not so savvy Instagram people and marketing people out there. And I want to just explain from the basics what it is and what's important, so that you understand when you're on Instagram, what's important that your customers and your clientele know that you're offering them. And what branding really is, and the simplest way for me to explain what branding is that you have the promise you're making to your customers, and the thing that they're going to tell their customers, your customers' friends, they're going to turn to them and say, oh, this company, it's a great company. You got to use them because XYZ, right? So that XYZ and the promise that you're making them about their interactions when they work with you and the products is your brand promise in essence. So if you're a realtor and you want to make sure that people know that you're always accessible to them, you're going to want to make sure that in your Instagram, the type of content you're creating tells that story of that you're accessible. Show pictures of you, at 1 o'clock in the morning taking a call, where maybe the other people wouldn't be doing that, but you are, because you're always accessible. And if you could prove to people that you're accessible, then they'll understand your brand identity of why you're different than someone else. And that leads into the last part of branding, is a unique selling proposition, which is what makes you different than your competitors. And when you post on Instagram, you should be thinking of those three things. What is the story that you want them to know that you do? What makes you unique and special over your competitors? What type of products and quality or pricing or service can they expect from your brand? Like, what's that promise that your brand represents? And all of those type of things are very important. Now, I see somebody raise their hand to ask a question. You want to just, Gabrielle, you want to just ask your question in the comments so I could see what you wanted to ask, and then we'll address it. Thank you, though, for raising your hand. In regards to where I'm going with this, before you start posting on Instagram, you need to know what type of things you want to post. You need to understand that you're not posting just to get likes and shares and comments, because you could post a lot of things that will get you that type of engagement. But if it doesn't position you in a way for your business to get more sales, then you're not going to be successful from running a successful Instagram account. People want to engage with you in a way that's going to be memorable to them, of what makes you special and unique and why I should use your business. And if you're just going to be the Instagram account that's fun, that shows silly pictures of cats, you might get a lot of followers, but you're not going to be able to get the sales that you want. And that's a mistake I see a lot of people doing when they do social media. They lose sight of that, and they just try to run after the comments and the shares and the likes, and they think that that's considered success. So success is really about implanting a very strong idea and a passion for what you do. So I don't want to get too much into the branding side. If there's someone who has a question, I'll take it. But the most important part is just to understand, and for those that you get it, great. If those that you don't, that's fine as well, is that try to be strategic. Let me just see what the question is. This is my first time here. How do I make Instagram work for your business webinar? So I'm not sure what the question is. I'll try to address it as best as I can. The goal of this is really how to make Instagram work for you for your business. And this is that webinar. It's designed to talk about how to make Instagram work for your business. Businesses who don't use the Instagram as a branding channel to tell a branding story will lose out on some of the benefits of Instagram. And that's really what I just want to discuss before I get into the nuts and bolts, just to get the mindset right, that we have to make sure that we are understanding going into it. The point of Instagram and the point of marketing is to be able to deliver a very clear voice. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Once we have that out of the way, the next thing you want to do is show that you're a real person. On Instagram, it's very important that behind every business that you have a personality and you have a passion, and the things that are important to you, you're putting out there. So people feel like they can connect with you and they feel like they're able to understand what you and your brand is all about. You want to make sure that you talk about why they should pick you over your competition and what you should be remembered for. So the type of functions that we like to do, when we're setting up an Instagram account, we like to start for the basics. We say instead of posting every single day when you're sitting by the computer and thinking, what can I post? Take a step back. Try to plan out your month, what it's going to look like. Plan out your themes. Every Monday you want to talk about this. Every Tuesday you're going to talk about that. These are the type of things I want to talk about. Maybe I want to show a customer success story. Maybe I want to show how to use my product a little bit better. Maybe I want to show influencers wearing my product. Maybe I want to show, right? There's so many different types of things you could possibly do. So start with that. Write down on a piece of paper, take some time, write down on a piece of paper all the different types of things that you would like your customers to know about you. What makes you unique? What makes you special? What makes your products original? Why they should buy from you over a competitor? And depending on the type of business you are, right? You're going to have some businesses that sell a product and it's going to be a lot easier for them to do Instagram than a service. So you're going to have to try to figure out within your framework what's important for people to know and make sure you have a list. And then try to schedule that out where you're planning ahead that Tuesdays, I want to talk about, this theme. And if you could even go as far as to set an expectation, saying that every Monday morning, we're going to do a motivational Monday at 10 o'clock. Make sure you're here. And we're going to discuss it on either a live or on a post. And they could comment on it to set that expectation. And they come back every Monday for that same piece of content is a great way of getting your audience engaged and create that expectation. So you don't have to only post things that are just about you. You could post your ads and you could post your sales and you could post your promotions, and that's okay. My rule of thumb when it comes to those type of things, you want to do 80-20. You don't want to post too much self-promotion, but it's okay about 20% of the time. Okay, so let's back up just a second. The way you really go about getting strong engagement on your social media and the way to get likes and followers and to get sales always comes down to one rule of thumb. And we're not always going to be there to be able to answer all your questions, but I think if you have this rule of thumb, you'll be able to understand if what you're about to post makes sense or not. So the way I always see it is we trade, right? We're trading the attention that you want people to give you for something. So what is it of value that you're going to offer your audience and they're going to give you their attention in return, right? So what do you have to work with at your disposal that will provide value? Some people, for them, their value is their personality. So they're going to go out there and they're going to be very bubbly and they're going to talk about themselves and they're going to do video or Insta stories. And what's going to draw people to follow them is the personality of the person behind the brand. They want to see this person because they're funny. They want to see this person because they're interesting. They entertain them. And that's a very important part. The recording for this event will be available afterwards. Don't worry, you can watch the whole thing from the beginning. And if you come in late, don't worry about that. So just to dive back right into it, the value that you want to provide people comes in different frames. Some people, they want to see what you do. And honestly, sometimes they want to see what you do so they could copy you, right? If you're an interior designer or you're a graphic artist or you're a person who makes stuff, they want to see what you're producing so they could go and copy you. food bloggers. It's all about that. They want to see your recipes so they could go and try it at home. They want to make it. Their value is being educated. So there's entertainment, there's educational, there's providing something like a giveaway or a coupon or a sale or what's new. This is the newest thing we have. If you follow us, you'll get to know before everyone else, and they could grab it before it sells out. It gives people a reason to follow you. Because think about it, there's a lot of noise and a lot of chatter out there. And if you want my attention, you want me to follow you, and you want me to come back and read your stuff, you need to be able to provide me value. And if you provide me value, I'll feel indebted to you, and I want to give back also to you. So I'll try to buy from you. I actually had a service that we used to use for rank tracking, and it was awful. But I only used it over their competitor because they gave me so much educational value from it for free. I felt bad just taking. I felt like I owed them something. And that goes into a little bit of a psychology where if you take and you take, you feel like you owe the person, you want to reciprocate. And that's where you'll buy from them, you'll comment on them, you'll try to do things that make them look good. And sometimes you'll have people coming over to you in person and just thanking you. And that's really what you're trying to go for. You want to go for a way of telling your brand story, what goes on behind the scenes, and really getting people to feel like you're providing them value and not that you're trying to yank value out of you, right? So you don't want to push them too hard with sales and trying to push them with, buy this product, this is the featured product, this one's this, and make it all about you. You want to make it about them and give them reasons why they want to follow you and contests and things that make them engage. So social media is about really building a community around your brand. Now, at a very, very, very high level, the way to understand this is if you were to look at Red Bull, the energy drink, and think, how would I expect their social media to look like? How would I expect their website to look like? You would think, right? I mean, an average person would think that it's a picture of Red Bull with maybe their calorie facts and maybe people drinking it and showing how much they love it, and maybe some customer testimonials. But if you really get into it and you look at it, go to their website, take a look. And if you go to their Instagram and you take a look, they took a very different approach. They said, we're going to build a community around people who are our target market. And they figured out who is their target market. It's people who are extreme sports. So we're going to build a place for them to play. We're going to make a site. We're going to sponsor things. We're going to make our Instagram all about, if you are a person who likes extreme sports, this is where you want to come to play. And they created an environment where that is encouraged. And by doing that, not only do they get the people who are extreme sports people, but they also get the accountants who are drinking Red Bull to stay up. But they say, if I'm going to drink Red Bull, am I rather drink a Red Bull that the extreme sports people do it, that they need extra energy and they turn to Red Bull, or someone I never heard of? I'd much rather go for the ones the pro is using, and I'll use it for myself. And that's like an aspiration that people are going to. So it's very important. So when you go into creating a Instagram following, you want to build a community around it. If your people like recipes, if you like food, realize what the community wants and then give that to them. Because what you're really doing is you're creating a target market, you're picking your audience, and then you're feeding them value in multiple different ways that fit around your brand. So if you sell a food product, you want to put all sorts of recipes of how to use that food and different ways that they could use it and make it a platform where people know they could find the best XYZ tips or tricks or recipes on your platform. And that's really what brings people in. It's a platform for creating loyal followers to amplify your brand message, because if you give them that value, they'll share that value. You want to make a relatable brand. You want to be current and relevant to what's going on. Talk about topics that are happening in the space. And the advantage of having social media is also now you have a reputation management tool where if people Google your name, you're going to show up at Instagram and they could come and discover who you are more than any website can. Because a website was only going to be one-dimensional, where a social media community is going to be very interactive and people can get a real sense of what you're all about. Okay, so what type of ideas, what can I do? What practically, I have never done this before. I want to get started. What do I do? So this is what we do. We sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and we say, my business does this. We're great at this. People should use this because of this. And let me prove it to you by showing you a behind the scene where something happened that you're proud of, right? Maybe show a video of somebody doing something that you were proud of, or just create it and say a story where I just had a guy on the phone who told me this and he was upset about this. And I said, you know what? You're right. And your customer always comes first. And therefore I went above and beyond and I went to his house and I delivered the product to him. And then here's me videoing it. Here, I'm giving you, I'm delivering it to him and he could show his reaction. That is very authentic. That is a story that people could buy into of what you're doing. Now I know for a lot of you, that's very intimidating. You mean I have to put myself on camera? It means I have to go ahead and I have to think about creating these stories. It's too much for me. So you don't have to start on that high level. You could start with the baby steps. You could start with maybe just giving a graphic design tip of what you could do, or a trick, or a how-to, or maybe just a beautiful image that represents, something that you like and asking a thought-provoking question. You could start with less engaging things and work your way up. But ultimately, what you really want to be successful is you need to give them tips and tricks and how-tos and show the client interaction and show behind the scenes and talk about your struggles with running a business. And other entrepreneurs are going to resonate with that. And they're going to be like, wow, I feel like I know this person. And it's okay to be opinionated and it's okay to be you and show your work. And this is the work part I want to just address. A lot of people make the mistake in thinking, oh my gosh, if I show my work, my competitors are going to copy me. But if you don't show your work, then you won't have customers. In some ways, what's better, In some ways, it's better to show your work and worry about always being a step ahead of your competitor than not showing your work and giving your ability for your customers to pick you. So it requires a little bit of confidence that you know that you don't have to worry and look over your shoulder of who's trying to copy you, but you're going to look forward to see what you're building. And to go out there and position yourself as an authority in this space and try to own your space and say, in this space, I am the expert and I'm going to be the guy, your go-to. And if you ever have a problem or your friend's having a problem with it, he's the guy you're going to go to because he's going to make sure you repair that roof or whatever it is that you need done. He's going to be the person you go to with new opportunities. And that's very important. Talk about your lessons you learned, industry talk. You can bring on guests and have them, part of your Insta story, cross-promote things. These are all great ways of really using Instagram on a high level. For those of you who feel like this is not me, all the stuff you just said till now, it's just not me. I cannot do that. It's overwhelming. I don't know the first thing about it. So often at that point, you need to really go into it and say, do I have somebody, a nephew or niece, an employee, somebody who's a little bit more savvy that I could give this role to and they could do it for me, or can I hire a company that could do it for me? But I'll be the person above to give the direction and I'll learn it as they go along. But it's important to be able to go through that. Okay, so now Instagram has changed so much that today, the most important part of Instagram is the stories. And stories are different than posts. A post is something you put up there, and as people scroll down, they see the post, and it's always going to be there for anybody who comes to your profile and see. An Insta story is an instant story. It's only there for 24 hours, and you can make a fool of yourself knowing that only people for 24 hours can watch it. Now, people can download it, but at least it gives you a little bit more freedom to do things that aren't going to be there forever. And that's where today, where people want to see your personality and they want to see what's behind you, that's where a lot of people are pushing to view. That's the content they want. They want to see behind the scenes. They want to see that stuff in a video format on an Insta story. And the way that works is that you film yourself using the Insta story feature, and then you submit it. You could put filters on it, and you could have fun with it and draw on it, and that gives people a less rigid way of connecting with you, and they could ask questions. Now, for business, there's a couple of extra things that we got, so I just want to address those. For business, you have swipe ups, right? If you verify your account or you have more than 10,000 people, you could swipe up, which means you could do a story and say, you see this sandwich I'm eating here? You could buy it. If you swipe up, it'll go to the website and you could buy it, which is a great way of grabbing a person's attention and funneling them into a sale. Another great way is there are shopping tags that you could do on your account And the way to do that is you connect your Shopify site or your website with Instagram. And Shopify is the easiest one to integrate. And then when they click on it, they could click it and they go to the website and they buy the item you're actually featuring. Another way of using Insta Stories is there's something called a live, where it's actually live and people could ask questions. It's a little bit like what we're doing here in a webinar. And you could schedule them in advance. You could bring on guests. And people like that because they feel like it's very engaging. And those you could save for 24 hours as well. And the last thing I want to talk about is just the highlights. If you have an Insta Story you like or a live, you could save it for people to watch on the highlights afterwards. And by doing that, it gives your best Insta Stories more time for people to watch. Instead of just 24 hours, it could be there forever. And that's something that people do put on their accounts. Now, a question from Jeffrey was, how frequently is too frequently to do an Insta Story? Now, that's very subjective. You're going to have to play with it a little bit, but people like to see what's going on. And if you see that you have a very engaged audience, you could push the envelope a little bit and do a little bit more. I would recommend doing a couple of times throughout the day, just coming back and doing a story. But there are some people that do, every hour. I see Libby and I see a bunch of people having questions. Please just direct your question into the chat box, and I will address it. Thank you. There we go. You will be able to watch the recordings afterwards. Thank you for those who asked the question. Okay, the next thing, the swipe ups. It's a great way of pushing a sale, having a person get it right away. What I find some of my clients like to do is let's give an example of a client. They're a manufacturer of kids' baby clothing. They're going to go ahead and they're going to use their channel of a way of showing off what their product's about. And then every once in a while, they're going to do an outlet sale, or they're going to do a crazy sale. And they're going to have people swipe up and engage and run to go buy that because it's a limited time sale and stock runs out and they really want to grab onto it. So for those of you who want to know, these techniques that I'm saying, can you do it when you're bigger or you could do it even when you're small? So I'll discuss a couple of different things of what you could do to get yourself bigger, but think about it like this. For every one person that follows you, they're going to potentially tell their friends and family to follow you. So if you're not going to give them the value of a reason why they should send people to follow you, and you're going to wait until you're used to do that, then you have like a chicken and the egg problem sometimes, where they're not going to follow you because you're not good enough yet, and then you're not good enough yet because you don't have enough followers. So sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and jump into it and do the high-level stuff and then make sure everyone knows about it and to do it that way. But yes, you could gradually do it, but in the end of the day, sometimes it's just about coming out strong to really differentiate yourself versus your competitors. Okay, so Instagram is not a platform like email. Email is I blast out a message and I move on to my next message. Instagram is designed to be interactive. So if you're just blasting and nobody's commenting back, then you're not using Instagram to its fullest. You need to use Instagram to create relationships with your customers, with your evangelists, with your influencers. And by doing that, you have to comment, you have to engage, you have to like, you have to private message, you have to create that relationship on their accounts, right? Sometimes it's not about what happens on your account as much as what you're doing on their account. If you're not going to them and commenting and liking and talking and DMing, they're not going to reciprocate. But if you do go to them and they get to know you, they're more likely to engage with you because it's like a quick pro quo. Okay, so best practices of different types of content that you could do. Contests are great for growing your account. Loops are annoying, but they're great for growing your account. Commenting on other people's accounts to build relationships, follow and like other accounts. And then you can even unfollow the ones who haven't followed you back so that your ratio to followers versus people who follow you versus people you follow isn't too skewed. And that's something you could do, on a daily basis. Just start going through and say, okay, I followed this guy, this business, and they didn't follow me back. I'm going to unfollow them and follow somebody else. Creating great content, be consistent in the content you create. And this is a tip I love, posting user-generated content. often what people want to see is instead of your stuff, they want to see what your customers are doing with your stuff. So give that opportunity to post somebody in your outfit or post somebody eating your product and say, I love it when people send in this stuff, and let them send in things, or have a contest where people could send in things. And then you share that because people want to see that product in use. They want to see that social proof that other people are using your product. This is very important. To do lives, to ask questions and let people answer, to do the stories you spoke about, takeovers, where you could team up with another business, or I'll take over your account for a day and you take over my account for the day, that type of thing, or allowing an influencer to take over your account and then tell their people, I'm going to be there, make sure you follow me, right? Or getting the influencers to give you content and you post it on your account. Sometimes it's free and you just have to give them free product, but it's a great way of getting that more followers, more likes, engagement going. Make sure you try to stand out and not just be another generic account. Do something different, try new things. Ads, sometimes it's a necessary evil. If you don't have enough followers and you don't have enough eyeballs, you run ads on Instagram through Facebook. Facebook runs Instagram ads. And you could target people been to your website only. There are ways of doing it on the cheap, but running it and allowing people to see you more and more and more is sometimes a necessary evil. Today, Facebook has become pay to play and Instagram is going there. It's going there where if you want anything happening, you need to pay. And then shout out and tag other people so that they see it and they come back. These are all great ways of doing it. And if I'm mentioning something that you don't understand how it is, a simple Google search will give you how to tag somebody, or feel free to ask the question. Okay. So I recommend in terms of a post schedule, the regular post, I'll try to do it daily or twice a day and schedule it like that. And then in terms of Insta stories, I'll try to do it at least once a day, maybe twice a day. Try to find the times in the day where your people are on their phones. Maybe it's lunch, maybe it's supper time, maybe it's bedtime, maybe it's in the morning when they wake up. Try to be there when they're on their phones and figure out where your audience is going after. There are tools on Instagram to help you knowing who your demographic is and things like that. You can look at that information. Definitely worth trying and experimenting a little bit with that. And then Instagram is not Facebook, right? It's very visual. It's not meant for text. It's really about wowing somebody with your content. And someone just asked a great question. Is it acceptable to tag an influencer even if you don't really have anything to do with your post? So the answer is no. Don't ever tag an influencer when they have no reason to be tagged. It's annoying. What you want to do is you either want to create a relationship with them that it's okay to tag them, or you want to make sure that the context of the post makes sense. So if you're posting this, like an example of a person climbing a particular mountain, and you know that this influencer climbed that mountain, then you could tag them and say, oh, please, I would love to hear your experiences on that mountain. But just to tag them when they don't feel like they're related to it, they're not going to appreciate that. Another question is an Insta story better than a video post? The post lasts more than 24 hours. Shouldn't that be better? The truth is, you're right. It should be, but I find that a lot of people aren't scrolling. They're not even looking at their posts. All they're doing is clicking through their Insta stories and then their WhatsApp statuses. They're just consuming that instant stuff and they're not even scrolling. So you gotta be cognizant of that and be aware of that. And what sometimes people do is they post an Insta story telling them to go check out their post to get the information. And that's a way of trying to boost that engagement on your posts. But visually appealing stuff, beautiful graphics, beautiful pictures is something that people want to see. They want to see a beautiful cat holding, a baby or something adorable. They want to engage with that really cute stuff. I'm going to get into influencers a little bit later, but thank you for that question. Provide value back, right? Figure out what your audience would appreciate. Maybe a nice inspirational quote, maybe a poll, maybe a test, maybe a recipe, maybe what's on sale. There's so many different things that you could do to be there and to make sure that you're really out there. These are just some examples of some of our content we've made for some of our clients, but it's really about trying to really get yourself in front of them in a way that they want to engage, they want to consume. And in the Jewish world especially, just because you don't have likes and engagement doesn't mean it's not working for you, because people lurk. They don't engage, but they lurk. They consume your content, but they don't talk. And you have to be aware of that that's definitely something that people do. Social media influencers. how do I work with them? Where do I find them? What do they cost? And does it make sense to do it? So let's go through it. So the first thing is important to know about social media influencers are they get business. Their whole business model, the whole way they make money is through influencers. By being an influencer, that's how they make money. So if you're going to come to them and you're going to say, I want you to do something, a lot of times you're going to get the reply, sure, I have 30,000 followers. I'm happy to talk about your account. It's going to cost you 500, 5,000. It's going to cost you something to do that. So keep that in mind. If you don't have that type of budget, so start off small. Don't go after the people who have 100,000 followers. Go after the people that have 5,000 followers, 10,000 followers, and go after the micro influencers. And here's a trick that I find works really, really well. Start with the little people. Get them, send them free product. Get them talking about it. Take the stories and the posts they've done about your product, post it on your account. Start getting a movement, and then go to the next level up and say, I want you to do it. And often what happens is if they see that the smaller people are liking it, they want to try it off because that's what's in. Right? We just did a big blitz for out. There's such a vibe going on. I want to be part of it. And if I would have went to them originally and said, listen, you have 100,000 followers. I want to send you a set. They're going to say, okay, well, it costs you X, Y, Z. But because they came to me, it didn't cost me anything because they resonated with the product and they wanted to try it. They felt like it was the in thing to talk about. So you sometimes have to use that dynamic to your favor. Giving free products out is a great way of getting out there. Sometimes you have to know how to pitch somebody. So how to find them and how to pitch them. How to find them, you need to really troll through so you could use tools like Thompson and Fiverr and these type of things to find influencers. I personally don't like that. I don't think the influencers on there are good. I like to do it manually. The way I do it is I look at hashtags. I look at other people's accounts, who they're commenting on. I start getting a feel for who the players are around the space. And then I start using, I use searches to look at what's in their profiles. And I find the people that I think make sense. Or here's a trick. I find businesses that have done it already, and I just stalk their pages to see who they worked with, and I start taking notes. Well, yeah, they worked with that person. I'm going to go to them. And sometimes you go to them and you say, listen, I see you did a great thing for this company. I want you to give you mine so you can try out mine. And it's a great way of getting out there. But make sure that when you're pitching them, it doesn't look generic. Nobody wants a generic pitch. They want to hear, oh, wow, I see that you love spices. And I just came out with a new product that has this spice in it. Would you like to try it? Make sure that you understand who they are and what's relevant to them. I know this takes extra work, but that's what really is going to make you work well. And that's why sometimes it's worth it to hire a company to have them do it for you. Question, how do you navigate the sensitivities of the frum world of Instagram? People don't want their faces to be posted. People don't want to engage with it because they are yenta. I hear you. Yeah, it's definitely a problem. Sometimes it's about paying people. Sometimes it's about just being cognizant that there are going to be those people who don't want to share their face. And that's okay. And find ways to blur out their face or find ways to show just their shopping cart, not who they are. Or find those that want to and double down on those people. But you're right. It's definitely a challenge when you're in a space where people don't want to have their kids or themselves up there. I had an influencer that came to me and said that I don't want to have my child on. And I asked a Shiloh what to do. I want to be authentic, but I don't want my kid on Instagram. What do I do? And their stock was, you can't show the kid. You can show their voice. You can do different things. But each person has find their own path of what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do. And maybe sometimes it's hiring an actor to recreate a scene. And it might not be as authentic. But yeah, listen, it's a model wearing my clothing. That worked. People are happy with that. And that's what people do. We sometimes have success by finding photographers, sending them free product, and then having them, when they do their regular photo shoots, include our products in it, and they send us back the photos, and we use those, and it didn't cost us anything. It's amazing what you could do for free if you're willing to be a little bit creative. Okay, so using hashtags are very important because people will search by hashtags and find you through it. Don't go crazy and use 100 million hashtags, but use a couple, 3 or 4, to allow your posts to get a little bit extra views, and that's totally fine. And you should experiment with different types of posts of hashtags. Sometimes even make your own hashtag. What I like sometimes is you can even coin a day that this is your day, and then you can make a big campaign where everyone is talking about your nonprofit's day. And we did this for Project Inspire. We had around the challah bake, we went to all the different influencers, and for free, we said, we really want you to get involved in spreading our message. Can you talk about what you love about Shabbos? And they went on there and they used a special hashtag and they spoke about what they loved about Shabbos. And then we took all of that content, we put it onto our accounts. And it was a great way of getting awareness for our challah bake and our organization, because they were able to give back to their audience something that they loved. So during the winter months, if you have a downtime, what do? So sometimes it's throwing back to what was going on when things were hot. Sometimes you have to find new ways of engaging with people that aren't based on that limited time period. And sometimes it's really just trying to see what's done in your space. What do people do during those downtimes? And with a little creativity, you could do that. Sometimes it's creating an indoor scene of a beach and saying, it's summertime, but it's not summertime, but we're creating a summer. We're pretending, or we're thinking about summer, or we're going to somewhere exotic. But you're right, ultimately, it's definitely going to be a challenge. And then the last thing is find the tools to measure what's going on. And if you could do this with a tool that's expensive, like Rival IQ, great. If you could do it with a spreadsheet, also good. Every month, how many followers did I have? Start documenting your successes so you can see on a graph what's going on. And today, Instagram has those tools where you can really go in there and just do it yourself. And it's great doing that. We spoke a little bit in the beginning about Google Analytics and how to see what your traffic is doing. If you tag it correctly, you could see right here a report, how much traffic came, how many sales I got. And that's great for knowing if you're investing your money in the right ways. Set goals. Figure out what you need to do, what you need to spend to achieve those goals, and then see what it did. And you have to invest your time and money. And time is like money. And sometimes it's just a necessary evil you need to do. And people are reluctant to do it. But those who are really succeeding are putting it out there. Right now, I make my videos on LinkedIn on things. I'm consistent. I at least do it once or twice a week. Because if I don't do it, you lose your steam and people forget about you. Okay, some quick tricks. I don't know what to post. I need content ideas. These are two tools that I love for content ideas. BuzzSumo, you put your category topic in there, you sort it by the past year, and you can see what people are talking about that got a lot of social interactions. And then great, you have a topic you can talk about. Nuzzle is a great app. The way that works is you connect it to your Twitter or your Facebook, and what's being shared in your community pops up highest. So if 12 people share this topic, it will show up higher. And then it gives you great ideas of what you should be posting. That's a great tool, Nuzzle. I love it. And then lastly, make sure you're organized. Look at Google Trends. Google Trends is just another tip, but back to the organization. Trello is what I use for organization. You can do a calendar view, have everything planned out. This is what we're posting this time. This is what we're posting this time. Share it with your boss, share it with your client. Make sure that they know what you're posting when. Get it all approved in advance. And you can even schedule it. I went a little fast in the end because time was short, but I just wanted to grab everything and at least give it to you in a way that you could go back and listen to it. If I missed anything, I will take your comments and questions now. Please, I open up the floor to questions. Just go into the chat box and go in there. Shia, your mic is off.
Thank you, David, for that also. So first of all, I'd like to thank you, David, for an amazing presentation. As a business owner myself, I actually gained a lot. I took some notes, and I will follow the lead of others as well to listen to this re-recording again. So thank you. Right before you go to the Q&A, once again, I'd like to just make the few announcements for those who came late. I'd like to thank this month's webinar sponsor, Mishpacha Magazine. And I would like to remind you that our next webinar will take place on Wednesday, February 13, on the topic of Business Financials 101. It's a lot of people make it up as they go, but if you want to start doing it strong from the ground up, we have a similar format every single month. Last month we had LinkedIn. This month we have Instagram. Next month we have Financials 101. So definitely stay tuned. And in the chat box, I just put our email address if you'd like to sign up to receive notifications of all our upcoming webinars and events. The next thing I'd like to remind you once again is that we have a huge e-commerce summit coming up once again. This will be our 6th annual e-commerce summit. It will take place on Tuesday, February 12th at the Palace. And you can sign up by going to attendjcon.com. I'll put it into the chat box so you can see it as well. I'd also like to let you know that this webinar series is brought to you by the Crown Heights Young Entrepreneurs, the JCC of Marine Park, and EPI. And if I can be as rude as to read a little email that they just sent me, this February, EPI will be offering an amazing course for women that either just started businesses or are contemplating open businesses. It will include helping you create a business plan and networking. It will also give you the ability to get up to a $50,000 free interest-free loan. And for more information, you can reach out to EPI directly at 732-228-8374, 732-228-8374. I will try to put this information into the chat box before the session finishes. And David, I will give the mic back to you to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. I just want to say that sometimes people feel very overwhelmed because it's a lot of information, right? And what I'm asking of you is on a very high level, and it's, for a lot of people, it's like you throw up your hands and you're like, I can't, I just can't do it. For those people who feel like that, just start. Be consistent. Every day, I'm going to post something. And I'm going to post something small. I'm going to take a stock photo and I'll post it and I'll write some text underneath it. But just get started doing that. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, don't even post. Just go engage in other people's posts. And you'll get a feel for what's the culture, right? Oh, that's accepted and that's not accepted. That's really the way you want to get into it. You just want to be there and be present and just start. Something that people go wrong in is that they get trapped in this idea that it has to be perfect, and therefore they rather not start at all. Sometimes it's just a matter of starting and getting your feet wet to really grow into it. 3 questions that just came in I want to address. One is, if you have a product that's only around for Sukkot, what do you do on downtime? And the answer is you got to engage with your community and be part of it. If you're there and you're relevant, then when it's your season, they're going to be like, okay, great, you supported me throughout this time, I'm going to support you back. Totally. Another question is, what do I do if I have a hair salon? Look at Deanie's Wigs. They do Insta stories of people in their salon talking about their wigs and showing the social proof of everyone's coming to them, showing who they are. She does a great job doing that. And she's a little pushy sometimes to get people in that chair to allow for that Insta story, but it's a necessary evil. You need to be able to show something. And, you know, hair salons sometimes have to do that. Let me see what other questions that I have coming through. I just need to catch up. Sorry for this. Okay. Okay. So for those of you who have really zero experience and you want to get started, either you find a granddaughter who knows what they're doing and helps you, or you just take the time, take out the phone, open it up, start looking at what other people are doing. That's the first step. Get a feel for what's accepted, what people are doing. And then you can start experimenting, or find that grandson and say, come over to my house, just show me how to post, show me how to do this, and they'll walk you through it. And that's really the way you got to get started. I think the best way is to really map everything out and make sure you have your month of what you want to give over as a branding of a business concept. You have it scheduled out, and then the stuff that comes to you, you squeeze in between. That's what I find that works the best from my experience. Flatware, home goods, influencers are really the way to go today. Find the influencers that are into decor and engage with them. Have them be part of it. I mean, it's huge today. And let me go back. People make the mistake in thinking social media is about their own platform, my account. It's not. You don't need an account to be on Instagram. Start borrowing other people's platform. Pay Yeshiva World, pay Simcha Spot, pay influencers to post your content. Start with that. Take a piece of content, pay them to post it. Let that be engagement. Pay influencers or give product to influencers, let them talk about your product. You don't even need an account. But by being present on other people's account and borrowing their influence, you're on Instagram. You're just not building your own community, but you're on Instagram, and that's a great way to get started that people sometimes neglect. Deanie's Wigs is the salon I mentioned. She's huge, and you should check out what she does. She's great. Is it necessary for businesses to do both LinkedIn and Instagram? Is Instagram more interactive? I've used LinkedIn. It depends what you are. If you're a B2B, LinkedIn is where it's at. If you're B2C, Instagram is where it's at for the most part. But there's no reason why you can't use both. Can you set an example of a map you were talking about? Okay, so let's say I'm a nutritionist, and I have a product mix. So Mondays, maybe I'll do a motivational quote about health and make you feel inspired to start your week off fresh. Tuesdays, maybe I'll talk about a recipe that you could do with my product. Wednesdays, maybe I'll show an example of a user-generated piece of content where somebody submitted that they made something using my product. Thursdays, maybe I'll do a live where I answer people's questions. But try to get organized. And that's where I'm talking about. Map it out in an organized form where you're consistent. Because if you do that, then it's not overwhelming. You don't have to think, what am I posting today? It's, oh, wait, I have these themes. Which one do I want to find a piece of content for today? And I can have them pre-designed as a template and then just slot myself a new picture into that theme and get it out there. These are great. For a realtor, you have a theme of your product, which is your house that you're selling with information about it. Then you have another theme with a quote from you. Then maybe you have another theme with a customer testimonial. Then maybe you have, you're going to do an Insta story on location, or you're going to do a flyover about a beautiful video showing a property. Those things work great. So we are a Google business partner, which we're a Google Premier partner actually. And a Google Premier partner means that we manage millions of dollars for Google for businesses to help them get traffic from Google AdWords. And we've passed all our tests and we're certified, and we have dedicated reps from Google that help us do our job. So for the person who asked the question what a Google Premier partner is, that's what it is. Number one tip for nonprofits that deal with heavy topics. Ooh, that's a hard one. Don't be afraid to deal with it. I just saw a live about Tarsa Mishpacha, a lady was doing and answering really heavy questions. And they were there on a live answering those questions, and people really appreciated it because sometimes it's a time to address those that topic. And if that's what you're about, providing that level of support, then why hide from it? For an artist, do I need to have my product polished and ready to sell, or can I start publishing and building my community by showing my process? People love to see the process. People love to see the behind the scenes. They want to see how something comes alive, especially your contemporaries or your peers. They really love to see your techniques because they want to try to learn from it. And they want to feel like you're a thought leader in it. Wow, look, when I draw, I use this technique because of this and this and that and the other. So even if people don't understand what you're saying, you're positioning yourself as a thought leader. And that's why all these makeup gurus do really well at people hiring them to do their makeup, because they have established themselves as the makeup authority. So that is a great way of doing it. Yeah, sure. So monetizing it as I go is okay. So you can monetize your accounts, sure. You have to make sure that you're not alienating people from the way you monetize it, but you could monetize your accounts. Just make sure you're doing my 80-20 rule. 20% things that benefit you and 80% of things that benefit other people. That looks like that's it from the comments. If at any time you want to, you pop a question, feel free to connect with me on Optimal Targeting on Instagram or on my LinkedIn by David Konigsberg, or feel free to shoot me an email. I am david@optimaltargeting.com. We as a company do the full-scale marketing services and been doing it for over 10 years. We do branding, design, development, and social media, pay-per-click, SEO. And if you don't know what those things are, there are ways of getting you new customers. So I'm happy to have been a guest here. And thank you so much, Shia, for having me.
Thank you so much, David, for an amazing webinar. I think it was extremely informative, especially based on all the comments and questions. And David Konigsberg, once again, is the CEO of Optimal Targeting and the founder of Brand Hero. So thank you. And thank you to everyone for joining us this morning. And I did put in the comment sections ways to reach us if you'd like to sign up for future events and get notifications. So thank you once again, David. Thank you, Rabbi Wordy, EPI, Mishpacha Magazine. And until next time, have a successful day.